Hello and welcome back to In the Corner. I'm Cash. This is episode 29. It's Friday, March 21st. We've got a pretty exciting weekend of combat sports coming up, especially Saturday. There is a BKFC card tonight, which we'll talk about a little bit. But then we've got the big card down under with George Kambosos and Sky Nicholson and such in the morning. That's on DAZN. And then during the day tomorrow, we'll have UFC London, which we're very excited for. Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. And then at night, you've got a PBC card that's not a pay per view. They haven't put them on more events, which is lovely. And that's Sebastian Fundora versus Chordale Booker. Some good fights as well. You've got an OTX card tomorrow night as well from San Diego, which will be on DAZN. And then a Pro Box TV card with a brilliant fight between Lester Martinez and Joshon James at 168 pounds. Let's just start off the action of today's episode with going through all of the cards we have, starting with BKFC Philly. That is tonight. So BKFC is putting on their second event in their hometown of Philadelphia. They said that they want to become like another franchise for the city and put on events there a lot of the time. We know Philly's got some crazy sports fans, so I think that BKFC, it's definitely a good matchup, and they've got a big fan base there. This will not be at the Wells Fargo Center, of course, much smaller card. It's a fight night. It will be at the 2300 Arena, which is played host to a few boxing events over the past year or so. Main event is going to be Paige versus Angelcor. Again, honestly, I don't really know too much about a lot of these BKFC fighters. I am looking at their website, and I see that they're kind of copying or taking inspiration, at least from the UFC website, which is good because they have a good website. But, yeah, that's your main event. 155. Well, this is interesting. Angelcor says he came in at 154, and Peg is 165. So I'm guessing that Angelcor may be moving up. I'm not sure what their divisions are. I think that they may be welterweight or it's lightweight. I'm not sure, but given it's in the main event, should be a pretty high-ranked match. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, I'm excited to just see this fight card. You've got Vidal versus Conley in the co-main. Their featured fight, I actually am really excited for. This is Johnny Cannoli Garbarino, who's given himself a bit of a thing as, smashing cannolis on his opponents. And, it gets a little bit of traction when he does that. So, he keeps on doing it. He's going to build a decent fan base. I'm already a bit of a fan of him. I just think it's funny to, your name's the cannoli. You just bring a cannoli to the weigh and he pulls it out of his pocket and smacks it on people. I'm telling you, Chris Eubank Jr. with that egg has inspired a whole lot of food-based slapping and stuff. I think the cannoli was actually before the egg, but the egg is definitely influencing a lot. You already saw KSI slap Dylan Dennis with a pancake. So it's getting out of hand, but should be a pretty good card. It's 10 fights in total. Goes live at 8 p.m. I think it's on the BKFC app and DAZN and Fubo Sports, wherever else BKFC is streamed. Triller TV as well. But yeah, it should be a pretty good card. I'm looking forward to it. I like when BKFC is on, especially when it's on like a Friday night and there's no other fights on, because it's just very like brain rot. You can just sit back and just watch some crazy knockouts. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Tomorrow morning we have a huge card in Australia. This is Matchroom's first big card in Australia in a very long time. We know they've done some stuff with Jai Pataya. They had a card with him in January. We're actually talking about Jai Pataya in a little bit, as he just had a fight announced. But, that was a Tasman card. This time they're putting on a real big show there. Co-main event is George Kambosos versus Jake Wyllie at 140. It's Kambosos' debut at 140. And, they brought in Wyllie on a week's notice because the original opponent, Dawoud Yordan, got injured. And I don't think that Wyllie is a great replacement opponent. I certainly don't even think that Yordan was a good opponent. This is definitely to get Kambosos a good win because, let's be honest, Kambosos is seen as a bit of a one-hit wonder. So I don't really know how high his ceiling is. We've seen it with the Teofimo Lopez win, which is crazy looking back on it because since then, he's been beat up by Haney twice, stopped by Loma. He had the fight with Maxie Hughes, which was a very controversial decision, and that he won. So he's 1-3 in his last four, and some people can even say he's 0-4. This is his first fight in a while that isn't, like top of the line. So we'll see how he takes it. We'll see if he, how good he looks. This is his first fight at 140. And, he's had a very well-managed career because I don't get how many world title opportunities he's gotten. But he wins this, he gets to fight Richardson Hitchens, which I mean will make for a fun build up. It gives Hitchens to get Hitchens a big money fight. They can do it in New York, and it's one that I think Hitchens will definitely win. I think that Hitchens is a phenomenal boxer. I think he'll outbox someone like Kambosos, and I don't think that Kambosos necessarily should be fighting for a world title if he beats Jake Wyllie. But yeah, hopefully we just get a decent win. Kambosos is not the biggest puncher. He's 21-3 with 10 knockouts. We'll see if he gets a stoppage. Jake Wyllie is a big puncher. He's 16-1 with 15 knockouts, but his one loss does come by stoppage. So, we'll see what happens in the ring tomorrow. But, I'm excited for a good event. What I'm more excited for, genuinely more excited for, is the co-main event between Skye Nicholson and Tiara Brown. This fight has been promoted terrifically. We know that OTX is a very good promotional game with, kind of doing like new age TikTok style marketing. And, I think that they've done really well at building this fight on social media. Tiara Brown is a super entertaining fighter, I think, both in the ring and as well as just like when she's, selling her fight. But, yeah, I think that this is going to be a really good fight. I think it's one that Skye Nicholson should certainly win. I'd be honestly disappointed if she didn't win. Not disappointed, but just shocked because Skye Nicholson is an A1 boxer. And not that Tiara Brown isn't, but she's just phenomenal. She hardly ever loses a round. And against someone like Tiara Brown, who's very exciting, a very big puncher. I mean, for a women's contender, she's 18-0 with 11 knockouts. That's a really high knockout percentage. Skye Nicholson, on the other hand, is not a big puncher at all. She's 12-0 with 1 knockout. So I don't really know. I assume that it's going to be Skye, honestly, largely dominating. I think it's a good fight. I think this is Skye's toughest test, but I still think that she is by far the better fighter. But Tiara Brown's trash talk has been phenomenal. The build-up has been awesome. I am really excited for this fight. I think it's one that Skye, again, she should win. She just can keep Tiara Brown at distance. I know some people call it a little bit of boring, but I don't see her as too much of a runner. I think she's still pretty entertaining. Tiara Brown is very entertaining. And I'm excited to see what she can bring in there. And I think that she will have some success. It won't be where Skye wins every round. But, yeah, this could be a phenomenal fight. I'm genuinely more excited than the co-main event for this. Also on this card, you have the rematch between Shernika Johnson and Nina Hughes. They had a somewhat close fight last May, actually on the Lomo Kambosos card. And it was one that, a very controversial moment where the ring announcer announced that Nina Hughes won the fight. She was the champion at the time. And then went back on it because he realized he read the cards wrong and announced that Shernika Johnson was the champion. So, it was a very weird situation there. I don't really know how that happens. He made a pretty big mistake on national TV or global TV really. And, he obviously will not be returning. And I've seen some people say, does this fight even have a rematch if that moment didn't happen? I think, yeah, that's a good point, but I think it still probably would have happened. There's not a lot of big fights to make. Johnson and Hughes were pretty evenly matched. I'm expecting a good fight. Johnson is the Australian. We'll see what happens. She was the better woman on the night last time, and I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens. But, yeah, 2 good women's world title fights on this card. Also on the card, you have Tara Moana. Super, super exciting heavyweight prospect. One of the best to watch. He is 6-0 with 6 knockouts, all come very early. He's in with James Singh, who's 12-5. So a very much a winning record, but not a good one. We'll see. This is over 6 rounds. I'm just expecting another good, quick knockout. And then you've also got on that card Imam Katayev versus Derval Palacio, who's 14-3. Katayev is 9-0. It's over 10 rounds at cruiserweight, which I may be wrong, but is Katayev not a light heavyweight typically? I'm going to check out their weights here because I think that they are I think that Katayev has been a light heavyweight, and I think he's actually quite highly ranked. I think he's top 10 with the Ring magazine. So but I feel like I may have seen something about him moving up. Okay, well this doesn't help. It says they're at 79 kg. I don't know what kg means, y'all. Kg 2 pounds. Okay, so let's say he's 80 kg. Yeah, 176 pounds. Okay, so they're at light heavyweight. I think that one of them came a little bit over. I apologize for being slow there, but yeah, yeah. I mean, he's 9-0 with 9 knockouts. I'm expecting another one. He's a terrific fighter, and I mean, if he keeps on getting big wins, he'll be in a big fight at 175. I honestly am kind of expecting him to get a big fight this year. There's not a ton of names at 175. There's just like a very, very like strong elite there with Benavidez and Beterbiev and Bivol and Morel, and and then you got Callum Smith, Joshua Boazzi, guys like Anthony Yard are in there. Um, there's lots of good names that Kataev could get himself in with. Honestly, a name with a guy like Connor Wallace, that's a 50-50 fight. If you ask me, I say do that one. There's lots of fights, so hopefully it looks good. Terrific card down under. I mean, George Kambosos is still a pretty big star in the sport, especially in Australia. I'm sure it'll be a sellout there. It's his hometown in Sydney. I think that they're going to do great numbers. I think that we're going to get a pretty good show. It's going to be early morning. But yes, I'm looking forward to it. What is probably the biggest event of the day is UFC London, as UFC is just the, it's in its own stratosphere. Um, they've got a fight night at the O2 Arena. Leon Edwards returns after his title fight loss to Bilal Muhammad last year. He's in with Sean Brady. Edwards is number one at welterweight. I didn't know that. I don't know how he's number one over Shavkat Rakhmonov. I know that he was just the champion, but come on. Rakhmonov deserves that title shot, and he's literally like solidified as the number one contender. Brady's number five. So this is still a really highly ranked matchup at 170. We know it was meant to be Edwards versus De La Maddalena, but they pulled De La Maddalena into the title fight after Shavkat lost. Or excuse me, Shavkat didn't lose after Shavkat was injured. But I think this is still a really good fight. As for who wins, it's hard. If I'm going to say Leon Edwards should be able to win this one, especially being like the hometown guy. I don't know if he's from London, but he's from England, so he's still hometown, at least as far as, although everyone else there is concerned. I think that this should be a pretty good fight. I'm excited for it. This is honestly an awesome fight night. Co-main event, you have Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. Very good top fight at light heavyweight. Number 3 versus number 6. The winner of this is going to likely fight Yuri Prohaska if Alex and Magomed Ankalaev rematch. Yuri said he's fine with taking a stay busy fight and would like to fight the winner of this fight. And I mean, the winner of this is going to be top 5 in the division. That's the perfect fight to make. Let's do it. I think it's a good fight. I don't know who's going to win. I know that Blachowicz has not fought in quite a long time. He hasn't fought since his loss to Pereira in July of 2023. As for Ulberg, his last fight was in November of 2024. So, he's been much more active, and I don't know. I think that Blachowicz may win this one just because I do think that he is overall better. It's just activity could play a role. So I'm going to pick Blachowicz, but I wouldn't be surprised at all at Ulberg taking the win. You've also got Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland returns. He's planning to fight 6 times this year. We'll see how many he can actually fight. And this is his second fight this year already, and it's only March, so he's definitely on track. But we'll see if he gets to 6 fights. We'll see how many of them if he wins. I'm going to be honest. He's the underdog in this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if he loses. I want to root for him because I don't want him to lose all 6 fights this year. We'll see what he does, but yeah, I don't know, man. Gunnar Nelson's looked pretty good, and Kevin Holland has not looked good as of recent. Also on the main card, you have Molly McCann versus Alexia Thainara. Molly McCann, I'm pretty sure, is a pretty big star over there. She's sure to get a ranking soon at strawweight. You've got Jordan Vucenic versus Chris Duncan. Vucenic is covered in tattoos, so that should just be pretty entertaining to watch. It's the England versus Scotland matchup, so I'm excited for that. And then Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Charrier should be a pretty good featherweight bout to start off the fight card. I'm excited, man. This is going to be a really good card, I think. It is, 13 fights overall. Prelims start at 1 p.m. Eastern, main card at 4 p.m. It's interesting. You have a ranked heavyweight fight, like way down on the card. Marcin Tybura versus Mick Parkin, 8 versus 13. This should be pretty good. If you remember, Tybura had himself a win He's actually been winning. Hold on. Well, he beat Tuivasa, but then he lost to Spivak, and then he had a win on the New York City card, the John Jones one, where he beat Denise. So, I think that that should be a pretty fun heavyweight fight on the card. I'm kind of surprised it's so far down on the card, considering the only other ranked fights are the main and co-main event. But yeah, I'm excited for this card. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, those are my picks for some of those fights. Next on Saturday, you've also got the PBC card. Sebastian Fundora returns. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really, really disappointed in this fight. Fundora is. You have an argument to say that he's number one in the division just because of the belts he holds. I don't think he's number one, but I mean, he's got so many big fights. He could unify with Bakram Murtazaliev. He could fight Virgil Ortiz. He could fight so many names. I know they were trying to get Errol Spence done. That didn't happen, so PBC's like, all right, well, let's just throw in someone else in there. So I threw in Chordale Booker, who's like middle of the line rankings in the WBO, I think. And just such a pointless fight. If you've seen the size differential, Fundora is 6'6". Booker is 5'9". He's 9 inches taller than him. And if people call Fundora a weight bully, he's saying like, oh, I may move to 160. Usually when they're like where Fundora is in his career, he's only like 27 or so. He's like, oh, like, yeah, I'm at 154 right now. I can move up to 160, then 168, maybe even 175 later on in my career. That's how they usually say. Fundora's not even sure. 154. I mean, how much does this guy really weigh? Because he says he makes the weight cut fine. I thought he'd be killing himself to make the weight. I remember for his fight against Tim Tszyu, he was eating pizza in Vegas like a few days before. I was like, what? Dude. But, I mean, hey, he gets it done. Listen, this is a fight that Fundora should win. I think that he honestly could get it by stoppage. Booker has been stopped before in the first round by Amma Williams in what was certainly his toughest fight, I think. So, I think that I'm not expecting a fantastic fight here. I think it's one that Fundora should dominate, just because he's so much bigger and is probably the bigger puncher and the higher level fighter. So I'm gonna pick Fundora for sure. Co-main event, at least I think it's the co-main, is Jesus Ramos versus Guido Schramm. Ramos was meant to fight. I think his name is Kevin Salgado. Salgado got injured, and now Guido Schramm steps in. Still a really good opponent on late notice. Schramm is coming off of 2 back-to-back losses against Johan Gonzalez and Vladimir Hernandez, but those aren't the worst guys in the world to lose to. I think that we can still get a pretty good fight here, but it's one that Ramos should win. I want to see Ramos in a very tough fight. I like the Jason Rosario fight. It wasn't necessarily like a 50-50 fight, but it was a good add a former world champ to your resume. I want to see Ramos in like a 50-50 fight, honestly. We talked about Callum Walsh the other day. That could be a good one. There's so many fights at 154, both at world title, at contender, and at these guys who are, like, not prospects, but coming into their contendership. Jesus Ramos has been a full-fledged contender for a while, but outside of Erickson Lubin in a fight that I honestly thought he won, we haven't seen him in with a lot of guys that are like 50-50 fights that can actually eliminate him for a world title. I want to see an eliminators takedown, and we'll actually talk about an eliminator at 154 later on this show. That was recently announced, but yeah, I think this is one that Ramos should win, definitely by knockout. He has 18 of his 22 wins by knockout. Schramm was stopped in his last fight by Vlad Hernandez, who we'll also talk about in a second, but yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm a big fan of Ramos. And then, of course, you have Elijah Garcia versus Taro Gosha. Taro Gosha is coming off of a world title challenge against Carlos Adames, a fight that he was largely dominated in against Adames, but he didn't look awful in there. And then Elijah Garcia is 16-1 with 13 knockouts. He came off a split decision loss to Tyrone Davis, a fight that he did probably narrowly lose, but yeah, it was one that he didn't look great in. And this is a really good bounce back fight, I think. I think this is a very competitive fight for Garcia to come out of a big fight that he lost and then go, all right, well, throw me in with the next best guy. And they're giving him somebody who just challenged for a world title. It's a fight Garcia will win, probably, and he'll be the favorite in, but it's a very tough fight. So good matchmaking from PBC there. Good little 3-fight card on Prime Video. I would like to see them broadcast some prelims, but looking at it, it seems like these are the only big fights on the card. The next fight down is Freudis Rojas, who I know is a prospect that's got some steam. He's 14-0 with 11 knockouts. He's in an 8-rounder, but PBC doesn't usually put 8-rounders on their main broadcast. It's usually just 10 and above. Sometimes they'll broadcast a prelim, but that's only on pay-per-view shows. So, yeah, this is what it's looking like, but I'm excited. This is in Vegas at the Michelob Ultra Arena. I think it should be a pretty good show, and I'm just so happy that PBC is putting on actual non-pay-per-views. They've got another one with Tim Tszyu versus Joey Spencer, which will be on Prime Video. I know it's a no limit show, but still, PBC is going to have their role in it. Also tomorrow night, you've got Lester Martinez versus Joshon James. This is a fight that they've been trying to make for a long time. It was initially supposed to happen in, I want to say, September. Yes, in September of last year. And then that didn't happen. Then they were supposed to fight just a month and a half ago on Pro Box's card with Ramon Cardenas as the co-main event. Didn't happen there. I think both times is because Martinez fell ill. The first time it was day of the fight he got pulled out. But Martinez is one of those guys that's been on the, he's been on the cusp of greatness for a while. He is 18-0 with 15 knockouts. Joshon James is 9-0 with 5 knockouts. This should be a really competitive, really exciting of fights in San Bernardino, California. I'm super, super excited for this fight. I think it's going to be awesome. 10 rounds at 168. Excuse me. James is 9-0-2. He had 2 draws in a row, which is pretty crazy, an 8-rounder and then a 4-rounder. But he's had some good wins as of recent against David Stevens and Vaughn Alexander, while Martinez has also had some good wins against Carlos Gongora, most notably. I think this is going to be an awesome fight. I'm really excited. This is just one of those fights that Pro Box is best at, putting 2, real competitive guys in there, except usually they're, guys that are more so have already been at that top level or have been at that higher level and haven't always succeeded. These are 2 undefeated, hungry prospects looking to become contenders. And it should be great. I think Martinez is the better fighter of the 2. That doesn't mean he's like a huge favorite, but I think that he should be able to get the win. And if he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised. Co-main event, you have Vlad Hernandez. He returns. He's been a fun fighter in the 154 division. 16-6, has never been the best at what he's done, but he's pulled off some good upsets over the years. And he's gonna be in there with Isaias Lucero, who's 19-2, so a better record than Vlad, but they should be still a pretty competitive fight. Vlad is always in competitive, entertaining fights. But I'm hopeful that it's one that Vlad should probably win. He has lost. He hasn't lost since 2023, where he fought Troy Isley's last loss before that was Jesus Ramos. Actually, looking at his record, he's only lost to pretty good guys for the large part. His last 4 losses have come to Troy Isley, Jesus Ramos, Suleiman Sissoko, and Israel Madrimov. These are all high-level fighters, so I think that Vlad should be able to get the win. You have Jesse Magdaleno. He returns to the ring after his title fight with Brandon Figueroa. Before that, he fought Raymond Ford. And a few years before that, he fought Isaac Dogbo. So only a few losses on his record, all to very high-level world title fighters. But he's in with Luis Coria, who's 15-7. This should be a fight that Magdaleno should win. I'm excited. And then 4th fight on the card, you have Jasmine Artiga versus Regina Chavez, which is a WBA World Championship at 115 pounds. Artiga is 12-0-1. Chavez is 8-4-3. I think that Artiga's going to retain. I don't know why, but some of these lower divisions in boxing, for men and women, but especially women, there's not a lot of contenders to go around. So they're fighting people that really shouldn't be getting world title opportunities, but fair play. This is kind of crazy to see Pro Box putting on a world title fight and having it so low on the card, but the game's the game, I guess. I'd probably have it above the Magdaleno fight maybe, but I don't know what I'm talking about. But a really good card. They've got some other good fights. I see that Kelvin Davis is on the show. I don't even know if he's going to be broadcast, which is really odd to me, but Charlie Sheehy will be broadcast. Anthony Cuba will be broadcast. There should be some pretty good fights on this card. I'm excited. Pro Box has been stepping up their game and putting on some big shows. And, I'm excited. Maybe not big shows, but bigger shows, better produced shows. Great fights. So I'm excited for Saturday night's card. And then finally, last card we'll talk about before moving into news. This is going to be a long episode. I apologize. Malik Montgomery returns at OTX 12, 20-0 with 18 knockouts. He's in with Jeremy Hill. I'm just going to be honest. I'm expecting another vintage Malik Montgomery knockout. You've got Kurt Scobie returning. He's 15-1. I think he also has a lot of knockouts. Yeah, 13. He should be able to win this fight by knockout. He's in with, oh my goodness, his opponent's 11-11-1. Scooby should not be fighting a guy like that. I do know that this was a late replacement fight. They had another guy locked in, and this week he pulled out. But 11-11 is pretty bad. Scooby by first round knockout. Scooby's a guy who's looks like he's 170 pounds of just pure muscle, but he's a vegan somehow. And he fought at 140, got stopped there, and then instead of moving up, which he probably should have done, he went down to 135. I don't know how this is possible, but he's a pretty exciting fighter. So I'm expecting some good stuff. Jonathan Mansour returns on this card. I think he's 2-0 at this point, or 3-0, excuse me. He'll be in a 6-round lightweight fight. I think he actually may be technically the main event. I think he's going to be fighting after Malik Montgomery in the future fight. He's from San Diego. Obviously, the big story was him and Julius Bayo, who's meant to be making his pro debut. He's been signed by both Top Rank and OTX. And he was honestly going to be right up there with Mansour, and it's kind of like their event. And in fact, actually, it's saying that Bayo and Mansour are promoters on this card, which I don't know how they've got a promotion company together. That's crazy, being that young and already having a promotion company. I have seen that they're pretty rich, but they're cousins. They're meant to both be fighting on this card. Bayo will no longer. He got injured, but Mansour remains on the card. He's a pretty good prospect. So excited to see him go. Dante Lane is one of my favorite prospects in the sport. I'm in the Atlanta area, so I've been to multiple of his fights, and all of them come super early. I think he's only been in the second round once. Six fights, 6 KO, 6 wins. It should be awesome. And then lastly, Richard Fernandez Jr. versus Garrett Palmer, 2-0 versus 0-1, 4-round bantamweight fight. It's probably going to be a good one for Fernandez, but yeah, very prospect heavy card. I think it's like, Scooby himself is in an 8-rounder, Malik's in a 10-rounder, and then you've got, it looks like 2 6-rounders and a 4-rounder. So not a long show, but I think this one will be on YouTube as well as DAZN. Good show. OTX is good fun. Yeah, I'm excited for this weekend's fights. Let's talk about some news that's been going on because we got quite a bit, but we'll try to go through it quickly. All right, let's do this. So first off, the Olympics have confirmed boxing will be on the cards for LA in 2028. The IOC unanimously voted. This is fantastic news. It is so important and integral to the success of the sport to build it up in front of the national audience, as well as to, in addition to boosting these guys, but to, put them on a global stage and give them the looks of the fans, and to get them, out there, and to see promoters want to sign them. I mean, we've seen it already with how all these promoters have been going after all the Olympians and getting them big deals, and they all have these huge pro debuts now, and it's so important. It's such a fun part of the sport, and it builds like your legacy. I mean, look at guys like Alexander Usyk. He's his biggest accomplishment. So, but yeah, he's undisputed champion twice, but he's gold medalist. That's important. That means something. Like so many of the best fighters in the sport come from the Olympics, and it's been big part of their legacy. So, this is only fantastic news. Yeah, I'm excited for this. Tank versus Jake Paul was in actual negotiations before draw. I don't know if this is real, how real this is, but it seems like Jake Paul, after the Mike Tyson fight, has actually got the pull to get himself into big fights, but they all fall through. We saw Canelo apparently was going to happen somehow. It didn't happen. Then we heard that Gervonta Davis, they were talking about it, and that was who Gervonta Davis was wanting to fight after. And then we hear that just yesterday, Jake Paul called out Anthony Joshua. And everyone's like, what? Oh my God, he's out of his mind. And then AJ calls him. And Jake, they both posted. They were on the phone saying, oh, it's 2026. And I'm like, dude, how is this real? Like, there's no way. Like, they're friends, And Jake's saying, like, oh, no, I like AJ. We're friends, but I'd beat his ass. He has no chin. He's no defense. He's sloppy. He's stiff. And I'm like, dude, you're describing yourself. Like, yeah, AJ has his flaws, but he's, an Olympian, a former unified world champion. Like, come on. It's just what? It's crazy. Yeah, I don't really know. I'm excited to see what happens next, but I don't know if there's really a plan with Jake Paul. I'm worried that MVP is just kind of chasing these mega fights because the boxers kind of think about talking about them. They're like, oh, you make a lot of money, and they're, yeah, we'll talk about it, but it's not going to happen. MVP needs to actually lock him down a fight because they're trying to get Canelo, and they're trying to get Tank, and they're trying to get AJ. At least get him a fight. These fights are going to take a long time to make. They're fantasy fights. There's no confirmation you're actually going to get anywhere near them. So, I don't know, but what a world we live in. Conor McGregor announces his presidential run for Ireland in 2025. I'd be interested to see if this actually really happens. I think that there's a really good chance it does not. I don't think that McGregor would win. Somebody already put out betting odds. He's like plus 225 or something, or maybe it was 2,500, 2,200. I'm not sure, but from what I've heard, he does not have the best fan base over there, and is more so a bigger star in America, to be honest. Or at least not a bigger star, but more liked. I think a lot of people there don't like him because he's a very controversial individual, of course. I don't think that he'll actually win an election at all. By the way, I just want to mention, I saw something, Nate Diaz, I think he got like arrested or something for another battery. I'm not really sure, but whatever. Yeah. McGregor opens with plus 2,500 odds to win. He will not win the election. If you remember a few years ago, Nico Omalana, who's a YouTuber, he ran for I think he ran for prime minister or something like that, and he was actually like the 5th most voted guy, which even that is a success. We'll see what happens. I think McGregor will get some votes, and it'll just be a funny thing, but to be honest, I don't even know if he'll actually end up doing it. McGregor says so much crazy stuff. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, and he never does any of it. So, yeah, he's saying it. This is mainly just because everyone's talking about him at the White House this week. We'll see if he actually ends up running, but I kind of doubt it. Jai Opetaia's next fight was announced for May 13th. He is in with the Italian, what's his name? To be honest, I don't really know. This is just a bit of a silly fight to me. They are just so they feel like they need to keep him active, and they do. I don't mind keeping him active, but they got to at least find better contenders because he's in there with guys that he has no right being in there with. This is the worst of the bunch. I actually thought that David Nika and Jack Massey were okay, but looking back on them, it's like, dude, these are like not the kind of guys that the king of the cruiserweight division should be messing around with. And I know he's trying to get the unification fights, but they're other top contenders, surely. But he's in with Claudio Scuello, who's 17-0 with 9 knockouts. He's Italian. His last fight was a 6-rounder. Yeah. In fact, he has only competed in 1, 2, 3, 4 10-rounders in his whole fight career. Yeah. He's been the 10-round distance once. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. This is going to be a very easy night for Opetaia. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know. It just feels so pointless to be putting on these easy fights for Opetaia. And what I'm worried about now is that this is a voluntary defense. We know how the IBF operates. They give you a mandatory, you do it, okay, you can have a voluntary. As soon as you satisfy that voluntary, you're in with another mandatory. And here's what's going to happen. And I even tweeted about this, and Tasman Fighters replied and was like, no, he already fulfilled his mandatory. That's totally inaccurate. I'm like, yeah, but after he takes care of this voluntary, they're going to give him another one, and that's going to block the Zerto fight yet again. We've done this so many times. This is 3rd straight mandatory voluntary BS whatever. And I don't know. What they should have done is ask the IBF, can we fight our mandatory? The IBF is so stringent on you fighting your mandatory. They've caused problems in every single division, and they're going to do it again. Just watch at cruiserweight. I hope they don't. I hope that they can convince the IBF to do a step aside when they order a mandatory before Zerto fight. But we need Opetaia Zerto. I'm so sick of seeing Opetaia fight these guys he shouldn't be in the ring with. This is the worst of the bunch yet, I think. So BKFC announced, I don't know where they announced except for the actual announcement I saw on like Twitter, BKFC Ice Wars. So it'll be fights on the hockey rink. So it's going to be full hockey equipment, MMA gloves, so it's not bare knuckle at all. 3 to 5 rounds, 90 seconds a round, 900 square foot enclosure. The first event will be on June 14th. I know that BKFC is putting on an event in Mohegan Sun on June 14th. Could this be it? Could that be the Ice Wars event? We'll see, but that'd be pretty crazy if it's in a, like a big arena like that. This is quite silly to me. I don't see how this would make sense. 900 square foot's pretty big. I mean, is it one-on-one or is it like a lot of fighters? It sounds like it could be multiple men in there, which would be crazy. But I feel like just doing two guys, 90 seconds over 900 square feet on ice, it'd be really hard to actually like force action in there. Although it could be wrong. This should be hilarious. I doubt how successful it'll be. Maybe it'll take off. I mean, I can't see how you can have like champions or anything, but just have some brawls on the ice. That's what BKC is good at, just doing brawls. And this could be something very, very funny. But yeah, looking forward to see how that actually looks if it happens. Very funny idea. Turkey Al Sheikh has reached out to Rito Tsutsumi. He put out a tweet saying like, I'd like him and his team to contact me. This guy's getting a lot of traction for his he's making his pro debut coming up. Very good amateur apparently. People are saying, oh, he could be a world champion in 2 years. I don't know anything about him. But really excited to see his pro debut as it's so hyped up now. And, Turkey already wants his hands on him. So I'm like, okay, wow. We'll see what happens. Okay, this is big. Christian and Billy and Diego Pacheco are in impasse over date and location with their negotiations. So it's for the WBC interim title. I had the Tiger want it to be May 17th in Quebec, which is coming up soon. And Matchroom wanted it to be in June in California. We know their date they're pushing for is likely June 21st, as we heard that. It seems like this fight could now be off the table, or at least Matchroom's preparing a contingency versus Trevor McCumbee, which, again, I'm not mad at all at Pacheco versus McCumbee. But there's now reports saying that could be going on June 21st in California. So I think that's what they're looking at, either in Billy or McCumbee. I would much prefer the Pacheco and Billy fight. I don't care if it's in Quebec. I don't care if it's in California. I just want to see the fight. If the fight doesn't get agreed over the next few days, they will ask for the WBC to order a purse bid. And I'm worried that one of those people, likely Pacheco, could move out of that purse bid. And, it sucks because both these guys are looking for the biggest fight, but they both want to be the hometown kid. They just got to make the fight. Honestly, make it at a neutral territory. This is a fight that really could go on a Riyadh season show, but, I don't know. I just want to see the fight because I do think it's a very good, very competitive match. So I look forward to seeing if and when and how it gets made, if it does at all. Jack Rafferty versus O'Regan, I don't really know the guy's first name, will be for the Commonwealth title on the heavy impact card, as will Royston Barney Smith. He'll also be on that card. So they're actually, this first Queensberry card is very good. I don't know why all these British champions end up, defending their belts once or twice and then find themselves in a Commonwealth title fight with no British on the line. I guess it's hard to get a British opponent sometimes, but I'm looking at this card. I didn't realize they had so many fighters on it. So it'll be Corey O'Regan. I'm assuming that'll be higher up on the card. I thought this was going to be like an all heavyweight card, or at least all the big fights. It doesn't seem like there is, as they're adding Rafferty O'Regan on. You've got Joe Joyce on this card versus Philip Hergovich, of course. That'll be the main event, I think. David Adelaide versus Jimmy TKV. Khalil Majid is on the card. I didn't see that. He's in with Alex Murphy. They're both undefeated. That's a really good fight. You've got Jorgen Oldejaj in an IBF International Cruiserweight fight. Mark Chamberlain returns. Royston Barney Smith returns. Delicious Ori makes his pro debut. A few other prospects. There's a lot of good fights on this card. We'll see if Moses Atama versus Nelson Hisa actually gets added. The fight card is 2 weeks away. I don't think that it's going to be, but I'm really excited to see this event. I think it's going to be awesome, and what a way to start the DAZN deal. What else? Okay. Glory Kickboxing is signed with DAZN. Apparently they've got a big tournament coming up. This is good for DAZN. They're totally solidifying themselves as the leaders in combat sports broadcasting. There's no one else that puts on as many events and showcases as many fights as they do. And this is big. Glory's big. I've never really gotten into kickboxing. To be honest, now that it's on DAZN, I may start watching it some. I don't know how much this is a deal. I know that the start of this event or whatever is April 5th. I don't know if this is like a series they're doing on DAZN or if all their events are going to be there. But, I'm looking forward to seeing how this looks, and I may tune in. You've got the TKO purses were revealed, and the actual numbers, let me see if I can pull it up. But to be honest, didn't look great. And when you're doing stuff with TKO, you're doing stuff with trying to pull in all these new fighters and stuff, you want to be able to get, like good big fighters to draw them in, but I don't know if that's going to work because a lot of these guys, they want big money. And even just like the contenders, I don't know if you're going to get big money here. So the scale is $20,000 for a 10-round fight by an unranked fighter, 50,000 when ranked by the company at number 5 to 10, 125K when ranked number 3 to number 4, 375K when challenging for the championship, and 750K when defending for a championship. Dude, when you look at the world champions of today, they get paid $10 million, some of them, at least $5 million, depending on the fighter to defend their belt. Who do you think is going to drop that and go, yeah, let me go fight for Dana and fight for 750K? I don't understand where the money's going that Dana White is putting into these huge, huge businesses where the fighters get none of it. But I don't know. This is not good. Obviously, Turkey is saying that it's all BS. And in fact, this was reported by Boxing Scene. And Turkey called out Gary Jonas in a very, to be honest, very brutal response. Let me find it. He said, this is posted by Ring Magazine, so they're totally just pushing whatever Turkey wants to say. Saying, this article is not factually accurate. I think Gary Jonas should focus on his business in Florida because he doesn't want the FTC to call him again. I'm wondering what is the structure of his business model with the rehab facilities and boxing. So Turkey's going after him. Doesn't look like we're going to be getting Pro Box TV partnership with Riyadh Season anytime soon. But, that sucks because I know it's Gary Jonas. He does own Boxing Scene as he owns Pro Box, or he's at least runs Pro Box TV, which owns Boxing Scene. But they're just reporting what they get, their stories. You shouldn't go after him in his business and say, oh, I wonder, it's just, I was very surprised that Turkey went that cut and throat. Turkey is getting a little bit more edge to him recently. We've seen it with like the Jake Paul stuff and other people here and there. Now he's going after Gary Jonas, which I just think is so funny. He's like, man, what did Gary do? But yeah, just very interesting story. And I think that, I don't know. I don't know how real these TKO purses are. They could very well just be totally fabricated, not by Boxing Scene or anyone, but by a BS source. But they also could be somewhat real, or at least close to what the actual numbers are. I know that Turkey likes to pay well, and I know that Dana doesn't. And I'm worried about this TKO league because it really feels like they're not on the same page. But only time will tell in this very interesting developing story we have going on. Okay. Ammo has replaced Kyron Davis in the Etinos Aliha WBO eliminator talks. We know that Davis and Aliha were in an eliminator for the WBO. They were negotiating in a pretty good fight. Kyron Davis has been pulled out. We don't know why, but Ammo Williams is now in. That's a fantastic fight. I think that's the perfect next fight for Ammo. We're talking about what it could be. I wouldn't be mad at Denzel Bentley, but he's next in line for the titles. I think he could fight Janibek after Janibek's fight in April. And then Ammo and Aliha, winner of that, will fight for the belt. I think a world title eliminator is where Ammo belongs right now. I don't think he should be. They're talking about, what if we just go try and get him a world title fight? No, put him in an eliminator, and a guy like Aliha, I think Ammo could be the favorite in. I would love to see that fight. There's a rumor that Lanier Perro could be going to Matchroom. Very good Cuban prospect. I would like to see that, but we'll see. I only saw one thing about this, so I just wanted to mention it. But he will get a big signing soon, I'm sure. Tom Aspinall is bored of the John Jones fight. I don't blame him. I mean, I hope that he still wants it, and he's not going to let it just slip away. But I mean, it's similar to David Benavidez and Canelo. You're calling him out for so long and trying to get the fight done. You're his mandatory, and he just will not fight you, and it can get very frustrating. And I think he's just bored of talking about him. No progress has been made, it seems. I don't know what's going on with John Jones, but he needs to be stripped of that heavyweight title. The Charlo brothers. So we see that Jamal Charlo is looking to return on May 17th or 24th. So I think that they're going to get him his own date, probably on PBC non-pay-per-view. I think that Frank Martin, Edwin De Los Santos has also been talked about for May. We could get those fights on the same card. I don't know who Jamal Charlo will fight. I know that he had an opponent locked in for the Tank Roach card before the Charlo pulled out, and they say that fight's been postponed, not canceled. So that could be what it was. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting him to come back as his other brother, as his twin brother, Jermell Charlo, the other one, will return in the summer. Possible opponents listed were Bakram Murtazaliev, Jesus Ramos, and Sebastian Fundora. Of these names, I'd like Ramos if Ramos wins his fight on Saturday. Ramos has been very active, by the way, after not being active for a while, because I think that Ramos and Charlo is much closer of a fight. Charlo hasn't won a fight in like 3 years. He fought Canelo in 2023, and then I think he hadn't fought since 2022 before that. So we haven't seen him return. And I think that Jermell Charlo, he's former undisputed champion at 154, so I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting himself a title shot against Murtazaliev or Fundora. And I wouldn't be surprised if PBC tries to make that done. Wouldn't like that. I think there's so many good guys at 154 that have been active, that have been in the picture. I don't like Charlo cutting the line to get up there. So I think that Charlo versus Ramos makes sense. It's a good fight, and it's not one that Charlo is necessarily guaranteed to win in. In fact, he wouldn't even be a big favorite in my eyes. So I would like to see that fight happen. Garcia's rematch with Haney has already been signed, he says, which is awesome. I like, they're going to put on this plan. Yeah, we're going to do this, stack up these fights. And he's saying, like, I want to fight next, Haney. And they want to do that. And they're saying, yeah, that's the plan. They've already signed it, which is great. I'm just really worried that nobody loses on May 2nd because they're in with tough fights. And we know what happens when stuff like this happens, i.e. Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. Anyways, Garcia is also saying he'll be earning around $20 million to fight Rolly Romero. And I saw somebody said Devin Haney will be earning around $8 million, and he said he'll be earning more than that. I would love to see the numbers, but we'll never see them. But Garcia earning $20 million is crazy. I mean, my goodness. I knew that he was big time, and he is headlining a pay-per-view, I guess, at Times Square. But I'm just shocked that they're giving him that much money against Rolly. I mean, wow, like they are really paying these guys crazy money. I don't even know why I'm surprised. I guess it makes sense. It's just still it's just also nuts. I mean, we saw Edgar Berlanga apparently earned $12 million in his last 3 fights, which is just, well, or at least prior to the Ortiz fight, but that's just nuts. We know most of that comes from the Canelo fight, but Berlanga, I mean, think about how much Ryan Garcia can make. It's crazy. H2O Sil will return April 26th on BLK Prime. It seems like H2O has been dropped by MVP. This is shocking to me. It really is. MVP pushes this whole thing about being a family and stuff. And then when they signed Lucas Body, I was a little bit like, okay, that's kind of weird because I wasn't sure if MVP would ever match their people up. I got Amanda Serrano and Alicia Baumgartner sitting next to each other at her signing table. And I'm like, dude, that's the fight. That's a super fight you can make. They're one division apart. Make that one. I'm worried that they won't make that. I was worried they would make the Body and Sil rematch, especially when they start pushing Body so hard recently. And now it seems that H2O may have been dropped. If this is the case, I think this is really low. I think H2O is still potentially a better prospect than Body. Body hasn't looked great in either of his fights since then. And H2O, he had a bad knockout loss, but it was 1 second. He was winning largely that fight. He can still come back. He'll still be a world champion. I have no doubt. So I think this is a bad calculation from MVP. Or maybe they're just selling him out to BLK Prime to get another win in before they put him on a big show. But I don't know. MVP needs to be putting on more events, and H2O is a great guy to put on those events. So I don't know. UFC has confirmed they'll return to Abu Dhabi on July 26th. I'm not sure if this is a pay-per-view or a fight night. I know they usually do an Abu Dhabi fight night around this time of the year and then a pay-per-view in October. But I also know that July 26th will be 4 weeks after 3/17, so you're going to do 3/18 on July 19th. I don't know. I think that July 26th works as a better date for that, but they could do it on July 19th. I don't know if this is a pay-per-view or a fight night, but we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, regardless, it'll be a good card because Abu Dhabi will pay for a good card. Tank versus Roach apparently did 262,000 pay-per-view buys is the number circulating. That's a very good number, guys. That's very, very good. For a fight that everyone's talking, I don't know, 260 is not bad at all. And that's the first fight. They're about a rematch after all the controversy and stuff with the draw. They're going to sell way more. They're going to sell, I bet, 350,000 now, which is very good numbers, maybe even more than that. Yeah, this is good. Tank usually sells around the 250 mark, or actually around the 200 mark. So I feel like this is pretty good if these numbers are true. Back to UFC. They're looking to Azerbaijan in June, putting a lot of Armenian fighters on that card, I'm sure. It's an interesting market. It's an odd place to go. But, I like that. I don't like every event being at the Apex. Move them around the world, not just the country, around the world. Do unique locations. Do different countries in Europe and Asia and whatever. Yeah, so why not? A bit random, but it could be fun. It also reports that UFC want Kyoji Horiguchi back. He was a contender with them a while ago, and then he went to Ryzen, and I think he held the title there and was pretty good. Now they want him back. We know they just signed Kai Asakura in the past year, who was with Ryzen. He's immediately fought for the title. Wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to sign more Japanese talent. Bring Horiguchi back. and spice up those lower weight classes. Chris Bowman-Smith wants Badu Jack after Brandon Glanton. I love this. I think that's perfect. I think that CBS is still one of the top 5 cruiserweights in the world. It's not the most filled out division, and I think that he's in with a good fight with Glanton. And if he wins that, I would absolutely like to see him fight the winner of Badu Jack versus Ryan Rozicki in the fall, while Jai Opetaia and Zurdo Ramirez fight. Let's do it. It's a brilliant fight. Good. CBS versus Badu Jack. If we get CBS, Badu Jack, and Opetaia and Zurdo in like a 4-man tournament, I love that. Those are honestly the 4 best guys in the division. And before Zurdo took CBS's belt, I'm actually realizing they were the 4 champions. Although I guess Jack wasn't a champion at the time. But yeah, let's do that. I like that. I think that's a good call out. I like him going for another title fight that's not Opetaia or Zurdo, because I think he still has potential to be a champion again. Eddie Hearn is not betting with Eubank after Eubank accepted the bet that I thought Hearn made, but then Hearn said he knows I'm not allowed to bet on the fight, which but why would you put up a bet then? I don't know. It's kind of odd to me, but whatever. It looks like they're not betting, and Eubank, sold him out or not sold him out, but put out a tweet kind of roasting him and stuff. So the build-up for this fight is fantastic. I cannot wait for April 26th. Bakudir, this is just funny. Bakudir Jalalev teased that LA 2028 Olympics could be on the horizon. We got to keep this guy out of the Olympics. I could be wrong, but is he not gold medalist for 2021 and 2024? Like, come on, dude. You've had your moment to shine. Let other people go for a world title. He's been so slow in the pro game. I mean, like, dude, you're ready to go. Let's just do it. No more waiting around. But who knows? I guess he wants to fight for the Olympics again. He didn't say he will. It's still 4 years away, or 3 years away. But, just like teasing, I want to do it again. I may do it again. Like, please don't. Please don't. Okay. UFC Atlanta could be happening. Like I said, I live near Atlanta, so I really hope this happens. I've been waiting for a UFC card to come here. It's been a while. And it looks like it'll be a fight night. I think the headline could be Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. Pretty good fight at strawweight. I don't know if this is the main event or just on the card, but I wouldn't be mad if it's the main event at all. I like Rose Namajunas. I think this should be a pretty fun fight. Hopefully we get a really good card. I hope this is in Atlanta. It's not confirmed yet, but that's what they're saying. And I'm begging for an Atlanta card. Speaking of, apparently Tank Roach 2, and I just saw this one time, but could be June 21st in Vegas. They're also looking at June 28th in Atlanta or Miami. If they do it on June 28th in Atlanta, oh my gosh, we get 2 huge fights in Atlanta, the State Farm Arena, back-to-back. Please give me that. I deserve that. I need that. I would be so happy. And I'd be at both events live reporting on X. That'd be awesome. But it looks like at least UFC we could be getting in Atlanta June 14th. Erickson Lubin versus RGL Holmes Jr. has been officially announced by ProBox TV. This will be May 10th in Florida at Lubin's hometown. And I think that this should be a really good fight. As for who wins, I'm not sure yet. It's too close. Holmes is undefeated, but Lubin has been at a higher level. So I'm not sure who's going to win this one, but it's a very good fight. Huge fight for ProBox. Honestly, maybe their biggest fight they've ever put on. You've also got Najee Lopez and Darrell Valsaint, 2 very, very good fighters on that card. This is a true Saturday night fight. I've been saying I don't love ProBox doing Saturday nights because of the competition. This one deserves to be on a Saturday night, and I'm really excited to see it. Last thing, Giovanni Cabrera has been replaced by Carlos Ornelas, who is 28-4 versus Abdullah Mason on April 5th. This is really disappointing just because I feel that Abdullah Mason versus Giovanni Cabrera was a fantastic fight, a very competitive and close fight, and to now hear that we're not going to get it anymore does suck. It was a huge step up for Mason, but what are you going to do? We'll see what Mason does with this guy. I'm sure he'll knock him out quickly. I just hate it because I hate it for Mason because he is trying to step up, and that step up kind of got taken away from him. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I know it was a bit of a long episode. The next episode will probably come out on Thursday, where we will talk about all the action from Saturday. I'm going to try and be tweeting for a lot of the fights. I don't know if I'll be able to watch a lot of UFC London live, but the other fights I'm sure I'll be able to. That's all I've got. Thank you so much for listening. Follow me on X. Subscribe to the YouTube. Rate the podcast. Thank you for listening. I will be back in a day or so. Peace.